Good morning. I'm Tim O'Malley, CEO of Atima Media and Marketing. Welcome to the 20th Annual Hospitality and Tourism Summit, and specifically a fun panel discussion entitled Overcoming the Hurdles of Hybrid Events from the Organizer's Perspective. We're filming at the AV Chicago studio at Chop Shop in Wicker Park here in Chicago. And we're grateful for this opportunity to be in this state-of-the-art facility that's run by such a great team. I'd like to thank AV Chicago for being our hybrid production sponsor and give a special shout out to Andrew, Justin, Amanda, and the entire team here at AV Chicago. Speaking of shout outs, we're so lucky to work with some fantastic partners. Frankly, we couldn't do this event without them. I'd like to thank our premier sponsors, Navy Pier, Skydeck Chicago, Fashion Outlets of Chicago, the Shops at Northbridge, and Old Post Office. I'd like to thank our supporting sponsors, Live Art International, Safe Expo, and Salvi Media. I'd also like to thank our participating sponsors, Choose Chicago, National Concierge Association, Chicago Hotel Concierge Association, Spectra, Levy, Show Services, NHS, Balloons by Tommy, FedEx, Accurate Printing, Quest Events, and Expo. As you can tell, it takes a lot of partners to put this event together. We're fortunate that we've had some great partnerships over the years. As part of our 20th anniversary celebration for the Hospitality and Tourism Summit, we wanted to bring forward some of the stories of businesses that have participated in the summit over the years. Check out this great story.
The redesign of Skydeck started about 5 years ago. We had a new ownership group come in and basically decide to create more here at Willis Tower for the guests to do. We created a world-class shopping, dining, entertainment emporium here called Catalog. This is a 300,000 square foot area that encourages folks to have a world-class meal before their Skydeck visit, after their visit. But by doing this, it really created an opportunity for us to put a first-class Chicago experience into the Skydeck. When the pandemic hit, it really created for everybody here in Chicago a sense of not just pause, it was just stop. It was basically a reset. It gave us the opportunity to take a look and say, okay, let's shift to a time-based ticketing instead of having a general ticketing. And then that helped our design. The design of the experience is set up not to put as many people as we can into it, but to regulate that, to get rid of the stanchions, to really make it an open field and let people take in part of what we did downstairs. So we wanted to focus on the origins of Chicago. We wanted to start out with how the city came to be. So you'll see throughout the experience, we've got a lot of different storytelling aspects. We have a few sentences that we'll outline. We didn't go overly in depth, but we didn't want to short it either. So come on in, guys. And we really wanted to focus on the tower. The opportunity to talk a little bit about the tower, but then digest it. How many Michael Jordans stacked on top? How many blue whales in weight? Instead of just sharing the tonnage, we really wanted to make it digestible for folks here. The whole goal is for Skydeck is to have people walk away with memories. The memories here can be romantic, they could be a fear of heights, it could be awe. I have participated in the Hospitality and Tourism Summit since inception. The Hospitality and Tourism Summit for us reinforces what we do on our own for the industry, for the concierge. We have a pretty robust plan that we put in place, but this is a really important part of it because we get to physically see everybody in one spot. Hospitality Tourism Summit will have great energy. It will really be an opportunity to reconnect. I anticipate walking out of the summit feeling better than what I came in at, and I'm typically in a pretty good mood. So I think this is all part of connecting, rebuilding together, and really driving that home.
while I have your attention, I wanted to highlight the 20th Annual Hospitality and Tourism Summit trade show that's happening on Navy Pier on June 8th. We're so excited to get our industry back together, and we're going to do it safely. I cannot believe it's been 20 years. It's so important that we take this step together as an industry to show people that it's safe to get together again. It's time. Together, we can lead our industry back towards normalcy. And it's going to be a phenomenal day. We'll have over 75 exhibitors and 800 people, including the who's who of influencers in our industry. You'll see meeting and event planners, hotel concierge, guest services, and salespeople, DMCs, social media influencers, industry leaders, and more. Not to mention some of Chicago's top tourism, group, and private event-oriented organizations. You'll be able to taste some samples of some fantastic food as well. In addition to the virtual educational sessions, there are 4 other new items that I'd like to share. The first, the event will be in the Aeon Grand Ballroom at Navy Pier and in 4 adjacent spaces, which have a total potential capacity of over 13,000 people. And since we're only expecting about 800 attendees, there will be plenty of social distance. Second, there will be strict COVID-19 safety measures. Our new event space, the Grand Ballroom, the Aeon Grand Ballroom, has received the GBAC Star accreditation from the Global Biorisk Advisory Council. And we've partnered with Safe Expo to create and execute our overall safety plan. Rest assured, we'll all be masked up, there'll be temperature checks, and we'll be doing everything we can to keep you safe. Third, we'll be offering tours of Navy Pier. If you haven't seen their new offerings for events and visitors, you do not want to miss this. Finally, we'll be producing an entertainment showcase this year, brought to you by Live Art International. If you're looking to find entertainers to book, or if you can't wait to see live entertainment, you need to come to see this. You'll see one of Chicago's hottest bands, amazing magical performances, and a variety of Chicago's greatest talents, from blues to pop to classical. I personally can't wait for this one. It's just so important that we take this step together as an industry to show people that it's safe to get together again. It's time. That being said, I'm hoping you can help us. Due to furloughs and massive changes in our industry, it's not as easy as it once was to contact folks that should be with us at the trade show on June 8th. So can you please make a point to pass the word to one person who should be there with us. This is the perfect opportunity to show people that Chicago is ready to host visitors and events safely, and it would be great to show the strength of our industry. You can get more information on our website at hts.events or on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you. Okay, let's get on with the reason we're here. We've got a unique panel for you entitled Overcoming the Hurdles of Hybrid Events from the Organizer's Perspective. It's unique in that it's sort of a look under the hood of our own event, the Hospitality and Tourism Summit, so admittedly, I feel a little naked right now. So I'm actually looking forward to it. It's also going to feature our own, a team of his own, Director of Event Marketing, Dylan Ravenscraft, who does a wonderful job for us. Okay, let's get started by introducing our moderator, Sean Lynch, the president of NHS Global Events. Sean may have one title, but his day-to-day work at NHS Global Events includes a range of, well, everything. That being said, Sean has a laser-like focus on SMMP, along with new meetings and events industry trends that help clients prosper. Sean is active in several industry associations, so he's doing his part. His biggest role has been serving on the Meeting Professional International Chicago Chapter Board of Directors, including serving as the organization's president from 2012 to 2013. In addition to his pride in NHS Global Events and his other industry contributions, Sean is most proud of his family, as he should be, including Mary, his spouse, and their children, Chris, Natalie, and Ryan. Please welcome Sean Lynch.
Tim, thank you very much for the introduction. A little bit about myself. Hello, I'm Sean Lynch, and I lead NHS Global Events. We're a Chicago-based company that's in the event agency business headquartered here, as I just said. We support clients that may not have the expertise, the bandwidth, or the core focus to produce meetings, incentive, conference, or events. Some of our clients are publicly traded, and some are private, not-for-profit, such as medical associations. People ask me what we excel at. It's when clients expect or demand excellent service. And that's really where we try to fill the need. So now let's introduce our three panelists. They're the star of the show. First, we have Amanda Boyer. and who's the general manager of AV Chicago. So Amanda, I'll turn it over to you, and please introduce yourself.
Great, thanks, Sean. As Sean mentioned, I'm Amanda Boyer. I am the general manager of AV Chicago, and we're coming at you today from the AV Chicago studio at Chop Shop. As you guys have may have experienced over the last year, things have changed quite a bit on how we're hosting events. So as with many of you all, our clients had to change their events from in-person to make them virtual. And so utilizing AV Chicago's highly customizable virtual event platform, we were able to quickly pivot and allow our customers to host their events no matter where they needed it to come from. But now, as we're looking ahead and into the future and the excitement of us all being able to come together again in person, we're now looking at what is hybrid events and what does that mean? Because you need to make sure you're designing that experience and that engagement for both your in-person audience as well as your virtual attendee. So I'm thrilled to be part of this panel as we look ahead, talk about what options are out there to an extent, and look at the exciting future that we all get to be a part of. So thank you, Sean. Thank you, fellow panelists. I'm thrilled to be a part of this.
Thank you, Ms. Amanda Boyer. We're super glad to have you here. AV is really one of the core things of all events, and definitely hybrid. So couldn't have the panel without you on it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have two Amandas. This is Amanda Reese. Amanda, I know very well. We work together. She's just a wonderful person. She's a senior meeting and event planner with NHS Global Events. And Amanda has produced numerous digital events and face-to-face events in multiple countries and for many different design programs. Amanda Reese joining us virtual from the state of Michigan. The floor and audio is yours.
Thank you, Sean. As Sean mentioned, my name is Amanda Reese. I am the Senior Meeting and Event Planner with NHS Global Events. I've had the great fortune of working with Sean and many of my other wonderful colleagues for the last 7.5 years there. And as Sean mentioned as well, I have also operated quite a few programs, not only within the country, but outside of it. And then really over the last year, had the great fortune of getting to know and understand virtual events, both completely digital, hybrid, as well as in person during the pandemic. So I'm just really excited to share some of those experiences with everybody in the audience today. And I'm just happy to be here with Dylan, Amanda, and Sean.
Thank you, Amanda Reese. We're going to use those last names a little bit. Got to have some fun here. But the Amandas, watch out, Dylan. We're in trouble. Speaking of Dylan, our next panelist is our host, the show organizer himself, Dylan Ravenscraft, Director of Event Marketing for Atima Media and Marketing, and a Chicago-based. You've been hosting this event for 20 years, so Dylan, I don't want to take it away, but we know Atima Marketing, you are the go-to team in the event marketing and education and much more. Started in Chicago, but really certainly national and global, so thank you for joining us. Please share a little more about yourself.
Thanks, Sean. So as Sean said, I am the Director of Event Marketing for Atima Media Marketing. Many of us know us as Concierge Preferred, which we were for 18 years, I believe. And we rebranded to Atima Media Marketing to really better serve our partners, our members, and our clients. I've been with Atima for just over 2.5 years, working side by side with Tim O'Malley, running our events, overseeing marketing, and really excited to bring our 20th anniversary Hospitality Tourism Summit to life and bring people back together for the first time in, I don't even say over a year, but it's been crazy this last year. Since March 13th of last year, we went virtual, and here we are in studio without masks, talking safely with everyone else, but really excited to welcome people back in a safe environment this June. So back to you, Sean.
Dylan, welcome, and thanks to Atima for the master classes that you've hosted over the last 12 months and before, and really bringing education and knowledge and partnerships together. So huge thanks from all of us. So why are we here? Our topic today is hybrid meetings. So it's behind the scene from the show organizer's point of view. So we want to share learnings. This is going to be tips and ideas for planning a hybrid meeting with 1,000+ attendees. Could be many, many more in the virtual world, but face-to-face, that's what we're targeting. So what is the challenge of hosting a hybrid meeting? What will we learn? Well, the challenge is COVID-19. That's why we have it, and everything that comes from the pandemic. So then we have safety department health departments, we have the restrictions, we have perceptions. Is it safe? We all are vaccinated, we're 6 feet apart, we've been wearing masks, we got temperature check. So those are some of the perceptions. Some people have different perceptions, but what about the solutions? So we're gonna go behind the scenes. This is pre-recorded, so the event is June 8th. So we're gonna have about 1,000 people there face to face, and we're gonna learn what we've all been doing, advanced planning, and go forward from there. So we have the Hospitality and Tourism Summit, and it's in a hybrid manner. So we're gonna focus on 3 primary areas. So Dylan's gonna talk and give us on event design and the advanced planning. We're going to go indefinitely in audio-visual, pre-recorded, live, et cetera, which is more than audio-visual. It's lighting, it's design, it's creative production. And then we're going to go third on site because that really matters. That is the perception and safety that we really have to do it. So what new modifications are we meeting face-to-face? We've always been meeting face-to-face, but what are those new modifications? So that's what we're going to do. After this, you're going to have increased knowledge allowing you, the meeting planners and suppliers, to plan your own safe face-to-face or hybrid meetings. So we're super excited and look forward to it. All of our information is on the speaker bios on the website, so you can email us or contact us there. Let's just right into it. So Dylan, since you're the only guy here, I'm going to go right to you and leave the Amandas for a minute. So you're the show organizer, and you certainly have a pulse on the overall operations, the meeting design, the program, the marketing, the logistics, safety. We used to worry about active shooter drills. We still worry about that, but now it's a different kind of safety with COVID. So when you do all this, what are some of the first things that you think about? Most people go with venue after they go with business objective. What would you share with us that kind of kicked it off for you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of new obstacles and just things to think about with people's comfort level, as well as their perception, as well as just safety of our stakeholders and our clients and the attendees at the end of the day. So with the venue, there's a lot of things that went into our selection. Number one being indoor-outdoor space, because when we're picking a venue, which happened in December of last year, we're looking at how are we going to keep people safe, but also let them know that they will be safe in a meaningful way. So the event for 18 years was held at Navy Pier. Number 19 was online.
Right.
And so there's obviously history of going back to the pier and coming back to somewhere with familiarity. With that, we really looked to the pier as an opportunity, but we also had to think about, is this the right space? Is this the right place for us to host? And the more and more that we thought about it and worked with the pier on that idea, it was. And they were seeking and have now their GBAC Star accreditation, which is a accreditation for a facility that shows that they are clean, they're safe, they're following procedures, their staff is now trained in how to keep these spaces clean. And just the mass space available at Navy Pier was a big draw for us as well.
So let me think about that. So indoor-outdoor space, massive square feet, and accreditation. So boom, they're in the finalist right there, and previous history.
Previous history, yeah. All 4 of theirs pulled into that. And not to mention, Navy Pier is a pillar that brings together tourism, hospitality, and events.
Yep.
And for a place to have all 3 of our audiences it's a really meaningful place for them, it made sense to go back to the Pier for our 20th year. Little side history is our first trade show actually did take place in the Aeon Grand Ballroom. So we are going technically back 20 years to our first show and really expanding out of that footprint. And with, I think, 40,000 square feet plus, there's so much space for us to social distance and really spread out booths and create a really spacious environment. Very
good. So I'm going to ask Amanda to kick in here. So let's dig a little deeper here. So the design. Some hybrid events pre-record, and then they have some live footage as well. Some of them advance it, do it advanced, some do it at the same time of the event, some just archive it and then get fees for it later. So When you looked at how you're going to put the program together, now that you've selected the face-to-face venue, how did you decide to, what went through the thinking process of you as a show organizer to decide to really have the content of education in advance?
Yeah. So the content in advance really came out of, we wanted to build the excitement around the summit. So getting people excited to be back face to face. As we heard this morning, there is a new announcement with guidelines on restrictions. So we are
Positive news.
Positive news, yes. We've heard lots of other things in the past, but we are moving in the right direction. We're moving forward, and we're having higher capacity limitations. But just that has helped us really move forward and have a good face-to-face event in the near future.
So I'm just kind of summarizing in my mind. So you've done this for 20 years, 19 going on 20, and you really want to have a safe environment. You want to do face-to-face because you did digital, virtual last year 100%. So now you marry the two together in a hybrid. So you have the awesome venue, and then you also have awesome production team to work with. So you put those together. You're not at the 50-yard line, but you're moving down the field pretty good, I would say. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What other pitfalls did you come up with, or things that, what tips would you give people? So you talk about partners in venue. Can you talk about more I guess I call it supplier management, strategic supplier manager, strategic partners, because you can't just one-off somebody when it's a big event like this. You have to have a relationship.
Yeah, well, we always have to, we work with most people that we have relationships with to further the relationship, but also build new ones with like AV Chicago. And I don't know if I answered the question last time about the pre-production, but we really wanted to marry that online and in-person event together and bring forth what we did last year into this show, but we were also planning on doing entertainment and education on the stage at the Aeon Grand Ballroom, so there is that bridge.
Okay.
And we can live stream right out from the ballroom too. That has changed a little bit as things have changed, but that was the original plan, to have both in-person engagement and online engagement to really strengthen the relationship and also provide a lot more education. And we have a lot of people that aren't able to come, who aren't comfortable coming, or who are out of the state. So giving them an opportunity to engage with our exhibitors and also watch content online really helped to build that.
I tell you what, we're in April right now. The event is June 8th. I'm super excited. We'll definitely be there. So I can't wait to see how it all comes together. What I just picked up is you made plans and you had to revise your plans. And for those meeting planners out there that deal with stakeholders, you have to overly communicate. I think that is one of the tips with both your supplier partners and your stakeholders, and obviously your attendees, your guests as well.
Yes, everyone knows they get a ton of emails from Dylan at Tima, so we don't have to mention that. But yeah, communicate in many different ways, via video, via icons, and in different ways, or paragraphs or press releases, and really inform people and make them feel comfortable in any way possible.
Thank you. We're gonna come back to that, but let's go into the audio visual side of it, Amanda. And there's, by the way, this studio we're in is amazing. So contact Amanda Boyer at AV Chicago. It's an awesome studio, complimentary parking, etc. So right here in Chicago. Talk about the AV production from a hybrid perspective, or you can go digital, hybrid, or face-to-face, but hybrid's all of it.
Right. Well, and kind of Dylan teed it up a little bit as well. So as you're looking as a meeting planner or event producer, it's really important to understand what your ultimate goals are. What are you trying to get across? What is your ultimate feel that you want your attendees and guests to feel? And think about it from both an in-person attendee as well as what do you want your virtual attendee to experience. Once you kind of understand those components, we love working and partnering with our customers and clients to then develop a solution around what their desired outcomes are so that we can make it that seamless experience.
Can I pause you there for a
Yeah,
sec?
of course.
Because I see some people, I call them stakeholders or meeting show organizers, they bring in the AV people a little late sometimes for the game. So what you're saying is do it really in the beginning.
Right. I mean, that allows us all to be on the same page from the beginning. So as you're looking at what venue you might be selecting, we're here at the AV Chicago studio at Chop Shop. Here we have massive technology capabilities. Behind us is this awesome 16 by 30 foot 4K wall. We can change, I'm sure if you guys have watched many of the different education sessions, we're able to change the background, whether it be for a corporate client who's looking at trying to highlight a presentation or a video or any number of things, to having excellent and iconic Chicago skylines in the background. It turns it into a flexible space, but unless you're bringing your AV team in at the beginning of the event to really talk through what is possible and what is capable, you miss out. If you bring us in later, then we're trying to play catch up on understanding what your vision is. If we're brought in from the beginning, we can help orchestrate that with you, show you what the possibilities are, pull from different events and experiences that others have had, especially as we're in this new world of opportunities of what hybrid is. It's great to be able to experience and create together.
So you got me all thinking of AV right now, because you think in the old days you would you'd site the venue, Navy Pier in this case, and we're talking the Aeon Ballroom, which is at the end of the pier. It's just gorgeous. And so you do a site visit, of course, because you want camera angles and where you're going to fly the gobos and all that stuff. So now what happens in a hybrid, besides bandwidth? I know bandwidth is super important.
Bandwidth is important, yes.
So give us some other tips in that digital space where you marry the two,
yeah.
the face-to-face.
Well, I would be
please.
remiss to not give a huge shout out to the AV Chicago tech team. We have absolutely excellent, you don't see they're behind the other side of the camera, but we have an amazing tech team, from our project managers to our video and camera operators, that really have a great eye of what looks good. They're, I know, definitely making us all look good right now.
Of course.
But they have a really great eye to look at what a space has, what angles are best in that space to be able to not only have a physical presenter present in a room, but also where is the best placement for cameras? What is the best placement to have your attendees so they're socially distanced and safe? And so again, if we're able to come in at the beginning and do those walkthroughs with the venue, even if you've already selected a venue, having a second walkthrough with the AV provider, we absolutely love that opportunity, because we can also then be creative with you to make sure we are understanding what you're trying to accomplish with it, and make sure then we're adding the tech to enhance the attendee experience instead of detract from it. And that's really the best thing about AV and the best thing about technology is it's here to help increase and augment and enhance the experience for your guest. So all of that to say, bring us in. We love to be creative, and that'll help us create that right solution.
Thank you, Amanda Boyer. I think one thing that you remind me is that it takes a community to produce an event. So whether it's hybrid or face-to-face or digital, and you got to all come together. You have to over-communicate. We're going to talk about budget in a minute, because I think it's important to talk about. But Amanda Reese, you've produced some digital events and some hybrid events. Throw you on the spot here, but I want to bring you in on change orders. You get the CEOs. This is Tim O'Malley in this case. Now he wants to do a keynote live and things like that. So give us some tips you've learned on communication and accommodating and how you work with AV to get things done, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, obviously changes are going to happen, especially in this day and age with either a hybrid or in person. Just it's kind of something you have to be prepared for. So I think really just always kind of having that in the back of your mind that, you have to be flexible. And I think it was Dylan or Amanda mentioned that earlier too, just the flexibility and knowing that things more than likely might change and what are you going to do to react to that? So, for an example, we did have a program recently where similar to that, it was all pre-recorded, but then there was a live component that needed to happen to really get that content driven across to the audience. So we immediately jumped on with our production team, got a crew down to the location, which was actually going to be in a completely different state. So, we jumped on immediately, brought in our partners, just like Sean and Amanda both said, really brought them in as soon as we could and got it kind of figured out within a day. And then obviously, worked both from both locations on the back end to make it a seamless experience for everybody involved. So, that live element kind of came through without any hesitation. But again, it was really just being prepared for kind of any last minute changes. And then again, having the flexibility and immediate communication with our partners to make it happen.
So I picked up on a couple of those things. So as meeting organizers and planners and AV producers, one, you have to have your schedule and team in the queue, particularly when it's time to go. And you have to be flexible because the client's always right. If they're going to make a bad decision, you have to help them make a better informed decisions. Amanda Boyer, put you on the spot here because I do know that budgets are more when you have a face-to-face and a digital married into a hybrid. Can you talk about, and I know it helps to have a budget when somebody says, this is what I want to produce, but can you talk about how you work with clients on that and even a team with regard to the Hospitality Tourism Summit?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're looking at that, yes, it is beneficial if you have an idea of what your budget is and are able to come to us from the beginning and say, here's our budget, here is the outcome that we're trying to have for both our in-person and our virtual attendees. What are our options? And that allows us to really come in as your partner, come up alongside you, and say, all right, let's think through this. Let's be creative together to make sure that we can develop a solution to help you achieve the outcome. Budget will play a fact into it. And so if you're looking at having a specific experience for your in-person audience and that same specific kind of experience for your virtual audience, yes, that's going to cost a little bit more.
Right.
Because essentially we're creating the same event twice. Because you have to keep all the things in mind of what's happening in person and what's happening virtual. But if you come to us at the beginning and are like, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, what are my options that I can try to accommodate this, we can work with you to develop a solution that, we'll try to obviously keep it within budget and give you options of where are you able to be more flexible on and maybe where you're not able to be more flexible on. But really it turns into a conversation. If we're brought in and are allowed to be a partner with you on that, those conversations are crucial and there's so much fun being creative together.
It is. And we always call it audio visual, but it really starts with creative, production. Then you have the technical audio visual and lighting. We have beautiful lights, so there's a lot more to it. The LED wall behind us, there's a lot to it. So.
Well, and the other thing is as you're looking at a hybrid experience, for your in-person attendees, hospitality is going to be crucial. Here at the AV Chicago studio at Chop Shop, we're very fortunate to have a partnership with Chop Shop. So as we're having hybrid events come in, we have that hospitality component that you can have attendees in person while you're in studio and be able to service those audiences. So to Dylan's point, as they were looking through about how they were going to host their conference and event, thinking through the hospitality component is crucial. So looking for partners that can help you work through all elements of what that event is and a space that allows you to pull all those elements together in a safe environment. I think that goes a long way to not only showing that you're a great partner with the organization, but also helps the organization make sure that they're sharing that information with their attendees so everyone can feel safe and know what expectations are. In advance for this, we sent out our COVID policy guidelines on, we're going to be doing temperature check. There's going to be a health screening. We take care of cleaning our equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And so that over communication and that sense of ease can be placed around your attendees, speakers, and guests.
And then you end up with a great result, which is the end game for all of us. Yeah, Amanda, you were telling me before we started that to save money, for example, if we're doing a morning shoot now and then the afternoon's open, well, a client, if you know in advance, you can have the same technical team here, bring in client number 2, and then it will save them money because you hire the technical team for the whole day. So there's ways to save money.
There's ways, yeah, especially if you're having multiple different people come in for multiple different shoots like we're doing here today for the education session. We're able to bring the team in, have the space. So again, it goes to that pre-planning and communication.
Thank you. Dylan, I'm going to talk about safety in a little bit, but you are in charge of audiovisual. I don't know how many Zoom meetings you've been in the last 14 months.
A lot. It has to be over 100.
Yeah, well, probably 1,000, I bet. But when you looked at the audio visual, it was different than doing the digital meeting last year. So kind of give us some key tips as a show organizer that really highlight some things for our audience to think about, please.
Yeah, I think the first thing is definitely you need to know your platform. So how is this going to be seen? And you kind of have to work backwards from there. You need to know your goals. Why are your attendees joining you? Our attendees are joining us for education, and we're a preferred provider for CMP credits. So people are coming to us for credits. So we need to make sure that our production is not only informational, but it looks great and it works on the platform we're using, as well as a resource for people later to use for education. We were, I don't want to say ambitious last year, but we did a lot of education sessions last year. We had 15 alone at the Hospitality Tourism Summit online. So we did want to focus more on the in-person engagement this year, and we are doing about 6 or 7 this year, or maybe a couple more. So we're focusing more on that to have more emphasis on the in-person event on June 8th, which we'll have more information on later in this session for safety and logistics.
Oh, we're going right into that right now. So I'm going to bring Amanda Reese in on that. So Amanda, it's not June 8th yet, but you've done advanced planning. You've worked with Dylan, but you've done enough face-to-face. So it's that new, how to meet in the face-to-face in the new world, because now we're going to that. So talk about some of the safety elements and for our audience today, what's being incorporated for the Hospitality Tourism Summit and some best practices, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what, is important to start with too is really where every event starts, which is registration. So we know that registration really for in-person events is kind of where you tend to see lines and groups form. People are usually checking in, getting their badges, saying hi to one another. But obviously when you kind of think about that in the COVID-19 era or the pandemic world, if you will, and kind of putting on an in-person event safely, we really took the approach of kind of having a 3-step process for how to make sure registration and that first touch point for people coming in for maybe their first live event in months or a year, it really flows smoothly and they feel safe upon doing so. So I kind of want to actually just go through, if you humor me, the 3-step process that they're going to have kind of implemented. So really the one thing we would say too, of course, register beforehand. So that way you don't have to wait in line when you get there. That's one way to just, skip a line right away. But the 3-step process that I'll go over too. So really the first step is going to be a short health questionnaire that's going to be available online through a desktop or mobile. So we're going to really encourage people to take that questionnaire in advance, either on the way or the morning of before they get there. And so these questions are actually questions from the CDC. So basically we're making sure that those guidelines that are put in place both locally and nationally are really implemented and followed. So people are going to answer those quick questions. If the screening's not done beforehand and they show up, we'll definitely have signage and some traffic guides to help get them to take that questionnaire in person and understand how to do it and then really where to go to do it safely and keep that flow moving. Basically moving into step 2 is assuming that they get the green screen, we'll call it, for, you've passed your questions, you're approved. They're going to go into our step 2, which is the temperature check. So then those people, again, assuming you get to the green screen, you're healthy that morning, you're going to go to step 2, which is temperature checks. Every single attendee is going to get to that part of the temperature check. And really, unless for some reason they register with a high or elevated temperature, which is, I believe, 100.4 Fahrenheit, they're going to, again, pass through to kind of that next step. If somebody does have an elevated temperature or they are not able to pass that, then we are going to ask them to go home at that point. But really that 3rd step then is they're going to get this sticker that they're going to adhere to their badge that's basically said they've passed kind of the first 2 steps and the Safe Expo checklist of, registering in person. They're not going to have to go through that again. So, there's definitely a lot of things that are being put in place to make sure every attendee's health and safety are taken into consideration from the very get-go. And kind of along to the registration process, I think it's the Miller Lite Beer Garden. We're actually going to have those doors rolled up so that there's going to be the fresh air element. So the attendees who are coming in without having, gone through their safety or health checks first are going to be walking through fresh air versus being indoors. So that's already one element we've removed of concern for, the attendees in that process. But in general, when you think about it and when you think about in-person events, it's certainly the spacing and the flow. And as Dylan mentioned, obviously Navy Pier is a perfect venue for this because of the ample space, both indoor and outdoor, that they have to work with. And really that actually their architectural design is already going to be helpful for us too, to kind of implementing some of those things like the columns or the stairwells and making sure those directions are one way for certain for registration or check-in, and that people are really flowing through seamlessly, still respecting social distancing and giving each other that space to feel safe, but also be able to connect at the same time.
That's some really good information. Again, I've been to the Navy Pier, but I'm excited with the outdoor-indoor element in June. Great time of the year to be at the Hospitality Tourism Summit. Navy, talk about the badge. So do we have to print a badge, or how do we do that? Because everything was smooth, but I'm not sure about the badge.
Yeah, so we're still using our same badge printing that we've had at all of our events since 2019. So we have an iPad system with our partners at Expo, and we've actually implemented antimicrobial screen covers to make sure even the smallest detail matters with these
So can I pause you on that? So
Yeah.
you've really gone through with Amanda and Tim and Amanda Boyer, you're like making a list and checking off, and if somebody comes up with an idea, you're inputting it, and your partners come to you with ideas as well. And so it's really collaboration, right? Going all the way.
It's a team effort from everyone at the Navy Pier, from our AV partners, your team. I told our CEO, Tim, the other day, it's really gauging everyone's perspective because everyone has different feelings about COVID-19 and the pandemic and their safety. And anyone that I can ask on how would you feel comfortable attending this event, I do, because you're going to get so many different perspectives. To build on, I mean, obviously we're having mandatory face coverings, hand sanitizer stations, social distancing areas, designated eating and drinking areas. There's a lot of things on site that you'll see with signage and spacing that will help really make a safe environment for our guests.
So Dylan, maybe you and Amanda Reese can kind of walk through some of those details because I think it's worthwhile. Amanda Boyer and I will just hang and we'll talk AV while you guys share the audience on spacing and directional signage and all that. And the food and beverage, please, because people will have you. This is a live event for food.
Yes. Our event is known for the best food and drink in Chicago, so that is a huge element of that we had to tackle to make it safe. So we're working with our partners at Levy and at Navy Pier and Spectra to make sure that all of our exhibitors are sampling in accordance with the proper guidelines and restrictions from the city as well as the state, and just perception-wise of what does that look like if I'm walking up to that table. So everyone will have face coverings, gloves, all proper PPE. We'll have the sneeze guard, clear
plexiglass thing.
Yeah, plexiglass in front of the tables. There's no longer the grab-and-go sandwich or the little cups of gin and tonic from our friends at Kingston Mines. There will be more controlled servings. Everything will be separate or pre-packaged. So very, very different look, but same good food and drink.
So anybody chip in here, but my understanding of the summit this year on June 8th is that it's live for sure. It's going to be kind of a trade show and partner relationship and learning and collaboration. But you're actually going to have 3 different segments, a morning, a midday, or an afternoon, or at least 2. So what do you do in between the segments? What's the plan as the show organizer too?
Yes, so we'll definitely be, all the doors will be propped open in the Aeon Grand Ballroom, so that's one part. We'll be cleaning throughout the day with our partners as well and taking trash out and things, and then filtering out spaces for social distancing. Now the sessions, we might still have the sessions, or we will be one general session. We're still working those kinks out as we pivot and pivot and pivot again. But the adapting changes, we'll have a plan in place for June 8th. Today it might be a different plan, and yesterday might be a different plan, but we know that we will continue changing our plan to make a safe environment on that day at the Navy Pier.
So it's really interesting is because we've all been doing meetings for so long. you have to be flexible and you have to improve your plan every day. We got great news in Illinois today that the capacity that Dylan is increasing, and we expect it to even increase within the 5 weeks of the summit.
Correct.
So it doesn't mean you have to change, you will allow more people in because you want perception of health and safety, although you could, but with all information, you keep improving your plan.
Correct, yeah. We keep adapting and improving and making it a better plan with our resources.
Very good. Talk to us a little bit about booths. So I think you're going to have, again, many of your great supplier partners and sponsors will are showing their wares and their knowledge and their products. How will you control booth traffic? Do you have a plan on that you can share with us?
Yeah, so many different ways. Number one is we're limiting booths this year, so we typically have about 130 booths. We're limiting that down to about 100 or even less, depending on the sizing. The layout-wise, we've got at least 12-foot aisles. We have at least 8 feet between tables. Navy Pier in this event space is enormous. So we have tons of space to have booths indoors and outdoors to allow for the more people that want to be outside, depending on their comfort level or even their business. So we have that opportunity for people to jump outside, or not jump, but walk outside and have some fresh air. And we have 4 or 5 different rooms. So we will have a showcase room, which is going to be new this year, all about entertainment and speakers and performers. We'll have the Aeon Ballroom with ample space for booths and positioning. And there's just a lot of different ways to do the booths. And I think that's the answer to your question.
It does, because it's really interesting. You have a very solid program, 19 years, and you're still adapting and improving on it, even in a hybrid environment. So most show organizers want 130 booths at X dollars, so 100 at X is a lower number, but you know that's the right thing to do from a health and safety perspective for your audience and to continue the great brand that it is. So it's tough making those decisions sometimes.
And one more to add on is we're also limiting the booth workers. So in the past, I'd get the call of, hey, I've got 12 people that want to come to the summit. Can I do that under my booth? I'm like, yeah, sure. Here's the promo code. Go register. No, we have to make sure that we're in the capacity limitations, and that includes our exhibitors and our booth workers, to make sure that it's, number one, going in limitations. But if you saw 6 people standing at a booth after the pandemic, you would be uncomfortable even walking up to it. So we need to also look at the perception of, what does that booth look like? Is it inviting? Do I want to go over there? They've got food and drink on the table, but there's also 6 people standing there. You might not want to go over. So working with the exhibitors to really have realistic expectations on the look and feel of their booth is really important this year too.
Thank you. It's really good information. It's we're all learning from it. Amanda Reese, you've done some events, face-to-face, hybrid. Anything you would add to the day of event on a face-to-face in this new health and safety protocol?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think Dylan actually shared obviously a lot of the great information and the planning that's gone into this one specifically. But I think really, again, the key is obviously, well, perception. You don't want to walk up, like Dylan said, to a booth with 6 people in it, but also making sure that people feel comfortable and confident that the right steps have been taken. So again, going back to communication, really over communicating what's being done. The website actually has quite a bit of information on health and safety and really what's been done to make people feel confident going into this, which I think is great. And on top of that too, just making sure that you have taken the right measures. So again, as I mentioned, with really the health screening, the temperature checks, and then we're going to have a lot of hand sanitation stations everywhere, sanitizer all over. People are going to be required to wear masks and still being asked to social distance. So, as I think everybody's kind of mentioned at this point, everybody has a different level of comfort with COVID-19 and being in person. So we really want to make sure we're reaching all of those audiences by offering the right kind of equipment, the PPE with your mask, things like that. So
that's great information. Thank you. And with registration, you also then, if something happens, because you got a plan for all contingencies, then there's information for contact tracing and other types of things. So it's all there, which is super good. We're not at the end, but time is flying by. So we're going to kind of turn it over to our panelists to give a tip or two. But before we do that, so that's a cue for you guys. Amanda Boyer, I know that if I'm the only person at a booth, then maybe what I might want to do is have a little TV commercial in my company behind me on a monitor. Does AV Chicago produce those?
I mean, yeah, sure. Give us a call.
Okay. I mean, because sometimes you have the drop downs and different things, but particularly the younger folks, I'm a little older, but they want the movement. They're used to the video, so it's a way of marketing your product and services.
Yeah, it's more of a pre-record. So,
Yeah, pre-record.
what we're doing here today is, you're able to come in studio, have a high quality video shot, highlight your organization. So it's important marketing tools to highlight and showcase your organization.
Yeah, thank you. So we do know though, power costs a little extra, but that's okay. It's worth it because all you get is one client. You get one and it pays for everything, and then you get them the second year and you get them again. So thank you for the planners in the audience for working with a team of sponsors and supplier partners. All right, Amanda Boyer, you and I were having a conversation. You have a tip or two for your audience on anything hybrid?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think even beyond that, it's also, we've talked about, the perceptions, the different perceptions that people have as they're coming into events. And I think as organizers and planners and as AV providers, it's important for us to not just make sure we're taking care of perceptions, but also doing the right work and doing the work behind the scenes in advance of and after the fact to make sure that we are living up to that, we're following those guidelines. And I think it's great that we've had the opportunity to all talk today about not only what individuals have been working on and how we've even set up this hybrid education recording session,
right,
but also the things that Dylan and the team has been doing behind the scenes to make sure it truly is a safe experience. And then it also is to all of the attendees that are coming in. It's also on you to make sure that you're ready. You have, your mask, your PPE to come in. Give yourself a little extra time to get through the proper security. But it's all of us coming together, and I think that also goes into how we're looking at AV production and hybrid experiences is we all come together because I don't know about you as an extrovert, I am so excited to be back with people. It takes a village to all come back together, and so I look forward to it.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and expertise and some great tips there. Amanda Reese, I'll turn it over to you. Any closing comments or tips for the audience, please?
Yeah, definitely. I think, first of all, thank you all for letting me be on this panel. It's been really fun getting to chat with another Amanda, Dylan, and Sean. But I think in general, when you kind of think about hybrid events or even face-to-face, just with the, again, COVID-19 and pandemic in mind, the most important thing to me, as we've kind of talked about, is really not only over-communicating, but thinking about the team that needs to be involved, really relying on bringing in more people, the right people, professionals to give you the insight and the creativity to make it work and fit the needs that you're trying to get across to your audience. So I think that's hugely important as a first step. And then when it comes to actually thinking of those resources, I think, one thing Dylan and I were talking about is just kind of realizing how many more resources might be needed for the in-person. So, if you need extra tables than you might have in past years because you have to sit down to be able to take your mask off and eat, that's something that you might not have thought about beforehand. So just kind of thinking about those resources and enhancing them at the beginning. And I would even say, obviously, staff as a resource, making sure you have adequate staff on site to help be those guides to get people moving through registration, or to be the human arrows saying, don't forget to wear your mask or masks up, things like that. So I think really thinking about your resources and the right teams from the beginning are going to set you up for success in the end.
That is great tip. Thank you, Amanda Reese. Dylan, comments, tips?
To build on those great comments, it's hard, but I think the number one lesson I've learned from this is to understand your audience and really communicate what they want to know, and over-communicate and give it to them in so many different ways. But also building on what Amanda Boyer said is, I go to restaurants and I look online and they got all these health and safety things, and I get there and nothing's being done. And so I want to make sure that we are talking about all this stuff, but on site we are doing all those things and then some. And so that is something that is very important to us and Atima, because our goal is to get people back together in person and do it safely and do it right, to really lead the industry in the right direction.
Thank you. I love that walk the talk.
Yeah, that's
so
a big thing for me.
Good for you. So as we wrap up this session, there's one more thing. You may have questions about the Hospitality Tourism Summit 2021, the hybrid event. So there's a website. You may have found it already, but it's hts.events, or reach out to any of us, as we'd love to be of service to you. It's also now time to purchase those early bird tickets if you want to enjoy some savings, because savings are good. And remember, this is going to sell out because of the limited capacity, so purchase those tickets now. Thank you, Amanda Boyer, Amanda Reese, Dylan Ravenscross, and everybody at Team and AV Chicago and NHS Global Events. We hope you increased your knowledge to plan a safe, hybrid, face-to-face, or digital event. And we will see you there. And Tim, back to you now.
Okay, nobody leave yet. I come bearing gifts. You guys did a great job on this panel. I hope you at home enjoyed this panel as much as I did. I work with this guy every day, and I still learn from him every day. And it's great to see from other experts in the industry, how to do things well in this space. So thank you. So everyone leaves with a tin of Garrett popcorn. I hope you enjoy it. And Amanda, we will send you a virtual gift card so that you can pick up some Garrett for yourself, either in Detroit or when you get back here to Chicago. So come back soon. So thanks again. Great job pulling this panel together. It was a fantastic idea. If you're watching this on May 26th and you have any more questions, our panelists will be around until noon. So they will continue to answer questions until then. If you're watching this after May 26th, the recorded version on Expo, you can see the questions and answers that were posted today in the feed on the page that you're on. But you won't be able to ask questions, so please don't get frustrated. Before I let you get back to the question and answers, please join us at 2 p.m. today for How to Use Entertainment to Fuel the Soul of Your Guests. It's moderated by Dana Mallow, the CEO of Live Art International. Finally, I look forward to seeing you on June 8th at Navy Pier's Aeon Grand Ballroom. Please pass the word to your industry friends. Now, please submit any last-minute questions to our gracious panelists. Again, they're going to be here for a few more minutes, so thanks again, everyone.